I know. I know. They never happen on time anymore, do they? Let's find out what you guys asked the Phoenix. What's going on, everybody? It's your buddy, it's your pal Spaz Phoenix, the YWC Reality Check, here with, even though it's February, I'm going to call it your January edition of Ask the Phoenix for 2019. I'm going to do the quick rundown as we always do. If you're watching this for the first time, if you got questions, you want them to be answered in the next Q&A, put them in the comment section of this Q&A. Now, you guys know I've gone from doing these monthly to doing these bi-monthly to doing them surrounding the big four pay-per-views and usually being late like this one is, but it is what it is. It's a rough estimate of when I'm going to get these up. And Royal Rumble brought us a lot to talk about, and I've got, at the moment, 4 or 5 different topical videos that I'm working on, in addition to remembering to do this. So I hope you guys will, as I say, forgive me. This was supposed to go out before the Royal Rumble. It definitely didn't. But yeah, it is what it is. Thank you to the usual suspects. First question's coming from the Trish Stratus crew, but the rest of these are coming from one of the absolute first usual suspects in the Zohan. You know who you are. You're a great guy. You didn't absolutely kill me with questions this time, which is appreciated. This is going to be a slightly shorter Q&A than what we're typically used to, but I appreciate it nonetheless. As I say, guys, check it out down in the box below. If you know anybody else that would like to participate in the Q&A, please feel free to share this around Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, wherever you guys share your stuff. Trish Stratus crew says, who should dethrone Ronda Rousey at WrestleMania? Obviously the answer is Becky Lynch. Charlotte Flair should take on Asuka. And there's more videos coming on that particular topic. I hate to be that quick about it, man. I know you sent me the question and you wanted a genuine answer, and this was sent like a month and a half ago. But I mean, even a month and a half ago, I think the writing was on the wall. I'm very, very against them throwing Charlotte into the mix. I'm definitely against them giving Charlotte the win if they do a triple threat match. Let me be clear. If they do make it a triple threat match, I'm not saying that that's going to be a bad match by any stretch of the imagination. I just think Becky deserves the one-on-one shot, and we deserve to see her get the one-on-one shot. She didn't get it at Survivor Series. We didn't get to see it at Survivor Series, and it deserves to be on the main plane. Excuse me. It's Friday and I'm full of McDonald's, among other things. The Zohan says, after Steve Austin walked out of the WWE in 2002, The Rock and Vince McMahon verbally buried him on Raw the very same night. Why do you think WWE had the exact opposite approach when CM Punk left in 2014, not mentioning him at all until his UFC debut years later? Because it wasn't... In kayfabe, you hated the McMahons because Austin made you hate the McMahons. You hated the McMahon characters. You wanted to boo the McMahon characters on TV, so they came out as characters and let you boo them. Now, you know, smarter fans, smarks, if you want to call them that, the absolute saturation of WWE fandom throughout social media, and people wanting to seem like they're smarter than they are. In some cases, people wanting to act like they're part of the company instead of part of the audience. When they didn't mention him in 2014, it was because CM Punk became this symbol of us just hating the actual company as opposed to hating the fictional Mr. McMahon character. It's a very, very different thing. It became a lightning rod for criticizing the legitimate company, not criticizing this fictional character who is a heel, so you should criticize him. It's these people that in real life think they are the absolute gods. And if you don't believe me, friggin' Vince McMahon has a T-Rex skull in his boardroom in Stamford, Connecticut. That's basically it. The fans in 2014, A, were trying to get themselves over with the CM Punk chants, and B, were attacking the company and the McMahons themselves. Back in the day, it was such a case where all the boos just meant Vince McMahon was playing a great heel and he could pat himself on the back. The fandom changed, and in that one instance, WWE changed with them. Not necessarily in the way we wanted them to, but they did acknowledge the change. During the late 90s, WWE would occasionally name their pay-per-view events after members of the roster, example being Rock Bottom, Degeneration X, and Canadian Stampede, named after The Rock, Triple H, Shawn Michaels, and the Hart family, respectively. Would you like to see them adopt this in future pay-per-view events? I don't think you can. I don't think you can, because as much as we all have our favorites, we all have that one guy that WWE wouldn't be where they are today without that guy. It's not like back in the day with Hulk Hogan, where you bought a ticket to see Hulk Hogan. Now you buy a ticket, if you buy a ticket, to see WWE itself. Back in the day, when they first created WrestleMania, they could have called WrestleMania Hulkamania, and people would have bought tickets to Hulkamania, and then Hulkamania 2, Hulkamania 3. I mean, you wouldn't want them to do it now, because as far as they're concerned, Brock Lesnar's still their biggest name. And are you going to go buy a ticket to, you know, Beast Incarnate in your house? No, you're not, because A, it sounds really dumb, and B, you're going to, you know, shoo it off because it sounds dumb and because you don't like the person that they've got at the top. When they did Rock Bottom, it was cool because we went with it. We weren't looking to poke fun and looking to poke holes in what WWE was doing as much. Same thing with DX. I mean, Canadian Stampede. I mean, there's a bunch of different things there. The general respect that the wrestling fan base has for the Hart family, for the Hart Foundation, for the fact that Stampede Wrestling was legitimately a thing, and the fact that it was in that backyard, that absolutely worked. Was it named after the Hart family? Indirectly. I don't think if they had called it Hart Foundation in your house, it would have worked. But I mean, all of those are goofy. To name a pay-per-view after Rock's finishing maneuver is goofy. It works if you like The Rock. If you hated The Rock at the time, you probably hated that pay-per-view. Look at how, and rightfully so, but look at how we tore a strip off of WWE when they gave us Great Balls of Fire. Now, that was just Vince McMahon liking an old popular song from back in his day, and not named after a wrestler. But I mean, there's no shortage of fans that are looking for any reason to shit on WWE. That's why I think their pay-per-view names, if anything, are going to go more and more and more neutral. We heard Vince McMahon's mentality of he doesn't number the WrestleManias anymore because he doesn't want WrestleMania to feel old. That's how much, not necessarily care, because some of the names are still pretty stupid, but that's how much they think they're putting care into the names of the pay-per-views. And naming, the other thing too, and I'm rambling on this one now because it's kind of an interesting question, by naming the pay-per-view after one person on the card, you're basically saying whatever match that one person isn't in doesn't matter. I mean, if I remember correctly, The Rock fought Mankind at Rock Bottom. Somebody correct me down in the box below if I'm wrong. So what you're saying by calling it Rock Bottom is basically The Rock and Mankind is the match that matters. At DX, the matches weren't even that great. I think you had Triple H versus Owen Hart? And, I mean, it was right after the Screwjob, wasn't it? And we had Shawn Michaels versus Ken Shamrock, which wasn't that great either. Canadian Stampede had that big 5-on-5 match, which was fucking fantastic. But, again, Canadian Stampede, you got a Team Canada in there. I mean, like, where's the fandom gonna go? I don't think they can afford to be that specific these days. Number 3, name The Rock's 3 top opponents. I mean, I wish I could give you more in-depth on this, but the answer is kind of simple. Triple H, Steve Austin, and the Three Faces of Foley. Buy or sell CM Punk's Royal Rumble moments. The Sermon on the Mount, straight monologues between Royal Rumble entrants in 2010, or the new Nexus, bringing them all in at number 1, utilizing the Nexus to eliminate approximately one quarter of the 40-man Rumble in 2011. Now, I gotta go with Sermon on the Mount for a couple of reasons. The voice is still not fully back. Sorry, guys. It let CM Punk do the 2 things that he's best known for, wrestling and talking. He got to wrestle guys, do the thing, outwit them, get rid of them relatively quickly, and he got some time on the microphone, which, I mean, other than Paul Heyman, who's better than CM Punk on the microphone, but subconsciously, those 2 elements sort of fed into each other, because if he wasn't such a good, smart wrestler that was getting rid of people quickly, he wouldn't have had the time to do those things on the microphone, and it just worked. New Nexus was just, okay, here's another stable, and this one happens to be run by CM Punk, and they could sort of play on the whole, like, you know, the cult following, you know, look how easy it is for this guy to find followers. I mean, how many different iterations did he have? He had the Straight Edge Society, he had, the new Nexus, and there was one other thing that he did that I can't remember right at the moment. So one almost buried him under the weight of his own gimmick, and the other one let him shine in exactly what his gimmick was. So it's not really a choice there. Did you have any interest in seeing Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn with a tag team title run? I think that's what they need to do when they get back. Both of these guys are coming back from injuries, hopefully at the same time. You know, you kind of want to ease back in, and if you're a tag team wrestler, and this is not a disrespectful thing, if you're a tag team wrestler, you only have to wrestle half a match because your partner's doing the other half, and if these guys are both coming back from injuries, that's great. Also, the chemistry between the two of them is great. Sami Zayn as a heel is great, but I think Sami Zayn as a heel on his own might struggle. His heel character purely bounces off Kevin Owens, and let's be real, they were both on Raw. They were both taken out by Bobby Lashley. If they kick the ever-loving piss out of Bobby Lashley and Lio Rush in an introductory tag team match and then go on to win the tag titles, the tag division needs it. So I will almost be bummed if they don't come back as a tag team. Well, I know I've heard over the past little while, there's rumors that one of them's not quite ready to go, but one of them is, but the one that is being held back. I don't know which one is which, because I'm super unprepared for shit like this. But I hope that is the case. I hope whichever one of them isn't quite ready, the other one waits, and I hope they do a proper tag team title run. Not just, you know, helping each other get singles titles, because that's sort of the Gargano-Ciampa situation right now. But these guys with a nice, strong heel title reign would be fucking fantastic. And then you build up another team underneath them to get the push of taking the belts off of them. Eventually, what is a greater missed opportunity in storyline progression coming out of the Saudi Arabia shows? Oh, good lord. Good lord. You're going to talk about them Saudi Arabia shows. The greatest Royal Rumble... Yeah. I can speak, I swear. The greatest Royal Rumble, where the winner was Braun Strowman and there was no immediate world title shot to come out of it, and a special belt was awarded but never defended. I'm going to tell you something right now. That green belt that Braun Strowman won at the end of the greatest Royal Rumble, you are never, ever going to see that belt again. Just putting it out there. Or the Crown Jewel World Cup, where the winner was Shane McMahon and a heel turn was teased but never followed up on. Now, the winner was, or the way they're spinning the story now, is that the co-winners of the World Cup were Shane McMahon and The Miz. Now, you want to say that it wasn't paid off, or it wasn't followed through on. They never said, like, not that WWE would ever tell you this in advance, but WWE didn't tell you, hey, we're doing this so we can give you a heel Shane McMahon. They just said, we're doing this, and it's going to be something. And from that, you got The Miz reminding him that he won 2/3 of that trophy and they should be a team, and they've done this really, really weird angle that not everybody likes, but right now they took the momentum from that to develop a partnership between the two of them that pushed them forward into a major Big Four pay-per-view to acquire the SmackDown tag team titles from one of the best teams on SmackDown. So it did pay off. It might not have been a payoff that you wanted, but unlike the greatest Royal Rumble, the thing that was won in Saudi Arabia translated into actual tangible achievement on the regular recognized programming. So you have to go with the Crown Jewel because it gave us something. Now, something versus something you like is a debate to happen another day, but literally something versus nothing, I got to give the nod to the World Cup on that. When TNA was on the Spike Network, the company would rent out space on the inside of the wrestling ring for companies to... my God, I gotta read that again. When TNA was on the Spike TV network, the company would rent out space on the inside of the wrestling ring for companies to sponsor the show. Example, sponsor logos on the turnbuckles, the mat, etc. Would you be in favor of WWE adopting this style of advertising if it meant less commercial breaks? It won't mean less commercial breaks because that's not how TV works. I mean, even... WWE is so entrenched in eventually needing a break that you even get commercial breaks during pay-per-views and during network programming. So you're not going to not have commercial breaks. I got to throw it back to CM Punk and what he said in Colt Cabana's podcast. I would much rather see guys given the option, and I'm not saying everybody because it wouldn't work for everybody. Like it wouldn't work for the Undertaker or somebody like a Bray Wyatt or a Finn Balor or somebody like that, but especially the ones that are out there as real fighters like Brock Lesnar, like Shayna Baszler, like Ronda Rousey, etc. If individual wrestlers wanted to be sponsored, where that sponsorship would A, be partially shared with the company, B, be shared with that particular athlete, that's something that I think they could look at sometime around the corner. If Nike went to WWE and said they want to sponsor Ronda Rousey, just as an example, this is right off the top of my head, sorry, but they said, you know, we want to pay her a royalty of this, and to have her representing us on your show, WWE, we will give you this. And WWE uses that to sort of subsidize some of their ad revenue. Why are we beeping? Why is this a thing? I wouldn't mind that at all. I mean, WWE right now isn't exactly hurting for money. They got the dirty Saudi oil money because they're so terrible. They're not hard up for cash, for sure. All of the money that they're using to play keep away from AEW, which makes me smile a whole bunch. They're not hurting for money. Like, they're putting commercials out there and they're getting more ad revenue because they can, because there's no such thing as too much money. If people wanted to sponsor them and put a logo on the ring apron or in the ring or on a wrestler or in billboards like on either side of the Titantron, they would take that extra money, but they wouldn't take commercials off TV. So I don't know if I would like it or hate it. I think I'd be kind of indifferent to it because it happens in every other sport, doesn't it? I'd be indifferent to them including that in-your-face advertising. I just don't think it would get us any less commercial breaks. I know commercials are annoying, but here's a little hint, though. For any of you that have any version of like a TiVo or a recording TV device, go to your TV at 8 o'clock or whenever wrestling is on in your time zone. Go there and pause. Go there, pause it at 8 o'clock, so pause it at the beginning of the show, and just go do some other shit, like fuck around on YouTube or do some chores or change the ice trays in the freezer, do whatever. Come back at about 8:45 and you will be able to watch the entire show with no commercials. It's really that easy. I'm not gonna lie, that's what I do. I don't sit through commercials, fuck that. And the bonus of that is you get to fast forward through any matches you don't really give a shit about, which on Raw they have in plentiful amounts. Okay, now where are we? Favorite Rumble Final 2. I mean, the favorite Rumble Final 2 has to be the whatever Rumble it was where the last two guys in it were Undertaker and Shawn Michaels. Because the beauty of that was, if you watch that match, I mean, other than the way it actually ended, other than the fact that there wasn't actually a pinfall, what happened was everybody else got tossed out of the ring, and then those two guys just had a match. And I'm hard-pressed to find any other Rumble, other than if you go maybe way, way, way back, where after the hoopla of the Rumble itself was over, that the last two competitors in there legitimately felt like they were competing just with each other. And I know that doesn't sound like much, but when you get through, especially now because we have two Rumbles, and we do get legitimate matches after the Rumble is over, like poor Daniel Bryan and AJ Styles in this particular Royal Rumble that just passed, to have a match after the Rumble is over is kind of interesting because you've got mayhem and chaos and you never know what's going to happen and somebody's going to catch an elbow and somebody's going to sneak up from behind. To go from that chaos back to what was essentially a one-on-one match was really, really cool. And plus, Shawn Michaels and Undertaker, two of the greatest in the business. Moving on. Lost my place again. Which WrestleMania do you believe was worse for Bret Hart? Hulk Hogan immediately challenging Yokozuna after Bret Hart's loss, or at WrestleMania 9 and WrestleMania 12, where Shawn Michaels allegedly faked a leg injury in order to not lose to Bret Hart. I mean, even though he lost, you got to go with WrestleMania 9 because at least the match happened. I mean, I can't remember what Bret Hart did instead because my memory... I'm not good mic work. Good mic work can sit here, give you a history lesson of WrestleMania 12 and why everything happened, and Shawn Michaels did this and Bret Hart did this and they both went on to do this and smiles were lost and legs were broken or not broken. Somebody like Good Mic Work, who you guys should really go check out if you are not already subscribed to him, would give you a full history on something like that. I'm really not. I'm just going to say, purely in those contexts, he lost to Yokozuna. He didn't even have the match with Shawn Michaels. So you got to go with 9, even though it was in a losing effort. I mean, everybody recognizes that Hogan basically coming in right after the fact kind of buried him. So I don't even think he I don't think he lingers as somebody that lost. I think he lingers as somebody that got, like, unnecessarily buried. So that, if anything, that sort of garners you some sympathy. So that's not entirely a bad thing. Favorite Batista memory or moment, him turning on Rey Mysterio and beating the ever-loving piss out of him in the, what was it? If I picture the ring, basically he was in the bottom right-hand corner, throwing him into the guardrail, holding him by the face, by the mask, and just, like, screaming at him like a cartoon villain. Just, I thought you were my friend! It was so bad, but at the same time, everybody remembers it, and everybody's like, I'm just like, oh. And this is back, I mean, I like Ray now. He's doing a lot of really, really amazing shit right now, but this was right around the time where, as far as I was concerned, Rey Mysterio was mini John Cena, and I couldn't fucking stand him. And I'm just like watching that, and I'm just like, okay, as goofy as this is right now, Rey Mysterio is going to get his ass handed to him by this big, gigantic dude that the WWE loves in Batista. And it was great. There's probably way better moments that I don't think of, but that's, when I think of Batista, when I think of just moments that stick out in my head. Moments last more than promos. Moments last more than matches. Moments last more than stories in wrestling. So Batista, looking down at this brutalized Rey Mysterio that he's got literally in his 2 hands and shouting, I thought you were my friend! Well, it's just, that's gotta be it. That's gonna be my answer. I don't care. Favorite Royal Rumble winner? I'm going to say this, and people are going to think I'm a terrible person, but at the time, Alberto Del Rio. Because here's a guy that I really liked as a wrestler. Like, character-wise, they put him all over the map, and I didn't care. I really liked watching him in the ring. I thought he had, like, people would make the Eddie Guerrero comparison until it wasn't cool to like Alberto Del Rio anymore. But I really liked him. He had a lot of swagger. Even when they started pulling away all of his gimmicks, they took away his ring announcer, they took away his car entrance or whatever, they took away the big scarf and all that. But he still generically had that swagger. And just as a wrestler in the ring, I liked him for whatever reason. So when the 40-man Royal Rumble, the biggest Royal Rumble match in history until the greatest Royal Rumble, that's got to be an asterisk now, doesn't it? When they gave him the nod and he won the Rumble, at that moment I'm like, there's all kinds of possibility here. Now here's this guy that I love to watch wrestle. He's won, they've given him this token of winning the biggest Royal Rumble match ever at the time. And then he was in the opening match at WrestleMania and Edge and Christian smashed his car. And that was just, from there on, it was overshadowed by Edge's retirement and losing the ladder match to Christian, and it just all went right down. But right, it sounds bizarre, because I should think of, like, much better people. I mean, people are going to say Daniel Bryan didn't win the Rumble. He won at WrestleMania. Well, people are going to say things like that, and I won't take anything away from anybody, but there was such a blink and you'll miss it period of absolute potential when Alberto Del Rio won the Rumble, and I can't believe they threw it in the toilet, to be perfectly honest with him. And in the end, he ended up being a little bit of a wingnut anyway, didn't he? Thoughts on Shawn Michaels making his entrance to the Generation X team at WrestleMania 23 in his match with John Cena? I mean, other than, how can I say this? Other than being part of the Rockers, other than the barbershop window, other than, you know, absolute brawls with Triple H and the formation of other things in his feud with Bret Hart, I mean, you associate Shawn Michaels with DX, so why wouldn't he? I know that's a really cheap answer, but I mean, Shawn Michaels was Shawn Michaels, and he was the pretty boy who was going to get all the girls' attention, and he was going to be, what was the line back in the day? The guy that all the girls want to be with and all the other guys want to be. But eventually you came to a point where I think if he still tried to pull that off at that point in his career, most of the male fans would be like, yeah, go fuck yourself. Whereas DX was cool. DX was something that everybody was into. It was mini NWO. It was definitely a reaction to the NWO, but it was mini NWO in the sense of they let the fans be what they wanted. I mean, before WWE went PG, they were the ones that were making all the cock jokes, and you know, long before Sean Zoo Entertainment came around, you know, chicks flipping each other off, and they were making jokes about the big shtick with China and the whole bit, and it was the basest level of humor. But don't people, if they really admit it to themselves, don't people gather around the basest form of cheap heat humor, especially in wrestling? So it was more unifying than I think even the HBK character would have been. So I don't blame them for trying to play up on that whatsoever. Moving on. Favorite Royal Rumble elimination. Mandy Rose taking out Naomi last Sunday. That was good. Oh, I've got my big, I'm gonna like carbon copy Kofi Kingston, and I'm just gonna jump from here to here, and Mandy Rose says, "Go fuck you and your trash. Get out of here." I'm sorry. That being said, and I know... excuse me. I know what response this is going to get from people. Naomi didn't have the best save in the Royal Rumble. Kofi didn't even have the best save in the Royal Rumble. Casey Catanzaro in the Women's Rumble, climbing up the outside of the turnbuckle from the ground without touching the ground. That was your save of this year's Royal Rumble. Go back and watch it. It's fucking fantastic. And for somebody who isn't even really on NXT yet, she made a hell of a showing of herself. Why am I beeping? Why is this a thing? Yeah, honestly, Naomi getting all proud of herself because she hopped onto a step and then eating that step face first just made me really happy. And that's not even because I don't like Naomi, because she's trash. But that was legitimately a, hey, look what I did. Made me smile. Which Royal Rumble match ending was more shocking? John Cena returning in 2008 or Edge returning? Why? This is why? They know I'm doing a vid. That's what's happening right now. They know I'm doing a vid. John Cena returning in 2008 or Edge returning in 2010. I gotta say Edge, because there was something about Edge. It's much to what I was saying about DX a minute ago. John Cena had fans and had people that respect him, but John Cena was a good guy. And if you like good guys, you could like John Cena. Edge, as a seriously, why? Edge was not a squeaky white meat babyface. He was sort of this deep, even as a babyface, he was this devious, darker, cooler rock star. You didn't, as a fan, this is what I'm trying to get out. I'm sorry as I trip over my words. You didn't have to be a babyface fan. And I don't mean, and when I say a babyface fan, I don't mean a fan of babyface wrestlers. You, as a fan, did not have to be a babyface to like Edge. That's why it was so easy to love Edge. Even as a good guy, he had so many qualities of heels, of just doing this stuff, and like when he was doing good stuff, he could still look crazy, and when he was doing bad stuff, it was almost delicious, if that makes any sense at all. There was something, he didn't really ever have a huge faction around him, but he could have, because he had this cult appeal to him, and he's Canadian, that's another thing too. But John Cena being the Captain America of WWE, I mean, you're going to have the respect of people, because John Cena's not a bad wrestler. I mean, he's shoved down our throats, yes. He's a PR machine, yes. But you know what? He is what he is for the company, and he's a squeaky clean guy, and he does great things, and as an overall superstar, he's fantastic. I'd love to meet the guy. I would love to sit down and have a beer with him, even though he'd be drinking a beer and I'd be drinking a Smirnoff. But it's Edge. It's got to be Edge. It just is. Just the range, the amount of people, and just because it was you were a nice guy if you were a fan of John Cena. You were cool if you were a fan of Edge. I know I'm not saying it very well, but I hope the idea of what I'm saying, it's the same as my answers have been for a couple different variations of these questions here, Zohan. So I do appreciate the questions, and I hope you get the meaning of my answers, but there's a feel to it. And as good as John Cena is, and as much as he's given to the company in his own way, there's certain elements that he will never have because of the nature of his thing. Thoughts on the fact that Randy Orton hated his Burn in My Light theme song? Well, he doesn't have it anymore, so I don't think it was, I mean, if he didn't like it, he didn't like it. I'm not here to tell him, hey, you should have liked it. The thing is, when he had the Burn in My Light entrance, it was really just his solo version of the Evolution entrance. It was the same yellow lighting, it was the same shower of pyro that they had when the Evolution came out. So it was really an extension of him being the young boy under like two other legends and one other bigger guy. So I hope that that's why he didn't like it, because I thought it was an okay song. Everybody's seen the clip of the one time that they tried to give him CM Punk's entrance before they gave it to CM Punk, which I think is absolutely hilarious. I think it was done dark at a, like, it was at a Raw, but after the cameras had stopped running or whatever, they tried to give him This Fire Burns, which eventually became the first CM Punk theme, and it does and doesn't fit him in equal measure, so it just makes me laugh. If he didn't like it, he didn't like it. I don't know what to say to that. I like what he has now. The Voices theme is great, in my opinion. A great theme to me, and we don't have very many of them in WWE because a lot of it is, and I'm not going to hop on the bandwagon of people that just come on and bash CFOs because they're not Jim Johnston. I'm not doing that because they have come up with a lot of really cool stuff. Balor's theme, both of Shinsuke Nakamura's themes, the Glorious thing, etc. But a lot of it is really, really tight-looped, repetitive stuff, which isn't always the greatest. My measuring stick for a wrestling entrance, and if it's good or not, is if you can sit back out of the context of wrestling and just listen to it for the sake of listening to it. Balor's you can, Nakamura's you can, and those are two CFO things. The Randy Orton current theme, which is Voices, I can listen to it just as a song. As much as most of you will either roll your eyes or laugh at this, I came to play the Miz's theme that has been Miz's theme for forever now. Is a pretty catchy tune, and I would use it as my theme tune just because it used to be on my alarm. It used to be what I woke up to, but now it's Down with the Sickness by Disturbed, for any of you that care what the alarm on my phone sounds like, which you probably don't. If he didn't like it, I'm sure he's glad he doesn't have it anymore. That's it. Which WrestleMania title match was worse, Randy Orton versus Triple H at WrestleMania 25 or Randy Orton versus Bray Wyatt? I'm noticing a trend here. I'm just saying. Randy Orton versus Triple H at WrestleMania 25 or Randy Orton versus Bray Wyatt at WrestleMania 33. Randy Orton versus Triple H at 25 wasn't, and I know I'm in the minority when I say this, it's not a terrible match. It's a bit boring. It goes on for, it feels like it drags. I don't know quite what the big wow of the match was supposed to be. It just didn't come off as a wowing match. You got two big names like Orton and Triple H, and it should be the most spectacular thing on the card, and it just wasn't. Whereas the Orton-Bray Wyatt thing was just stupid. Triple H, Randy Orton in a match should be good. That's a good thing. They went out and they did okay with a good thing. Randy Orton and Bray Wyatt tried to go out there and make bullshit good, and it wasn't. And the projected thing on it was just dumb. I mean, I hate to say this because I know so many people jump on the bandwagon of, oh, WWE copies this person and that person. But it was clearly WWE trying to do their version of the Final Deletion, or something similar to the Final Deletion. We saw what Bray Wyatt and the Wyatt family did with the New Day at the Wyatt compound, and it was so obviously a ripoff. And this was the last remnants of that. It was bad. It was bad from the get, and there was no way that they were going to take those ideas and make them better. So Orton Triple H gets the nod, but I mean, it's to borrow a phrase from Adam Cleary, it's kind of like saying, would you like a kick in the shin or a kick in the ankle? It's the way I look at it. I'm sorry. Thoughts on the fact that Paul London got backstage heat for doing a backflip during his elimination at the hands of Gene Snitsky at 2005. Who the fuck cares about Gene Snitsky? Like, first of all. But if he did a backflip during his elimination, I mean, you're not supposed to look spectacular in defeat in that scenario. And obviously, Snitsky was a guy they were trying to push at the time. It's a typical, yeah, WWE got bitchy about it. I'm sure somebody thought that it was, you know, I'm sure there was a cornet out there saying that it killed the business. It's dumb. It's just dumb. Number 20. What's the first pay-per-view you ever bought? Dude, I have no fucking clue. I could not tell you. Once again, I'm going to mention Good Mic Work, and again, I'm going to say any of you guys who don't listen to Good Mic Work probably should. Hey, tell them Spaz sent you. It'll mean something to him, I'm sure. But he's got all these historical, like back in the day, I remember when this pay-per-view happened and I had a party with these friends and da-da-da, and he's got this like Filofax memory when he does his videos that I just don't have. I will tell you that before I was able to order pay-per-views, I, in my very young, lame days, did what I, you know, so creatively referred to as WWE Radio, which was basically I would watch the... before the days of the kickoff, before the days of Sunday Night Heat, you would have the free-for-all, which is you would actually go to the pay-per-view channel and it would unscramble for this free preview. Sometimes they had a match, a lot of times it was just really, really badly done backstage interviews, and then it would cut to the pay-per-view. And then it would scramble back up again. But, you know, sometimes, every now and then, it wouldn't unscramble right away. So the first 20 or 30 minutes of the show I would be able to watch for free because they didn't scramble it. Or the rest of the time I would sit there and just do whatever I was doing as a kid and just basically listen to the commentators talk about the match happening in front of them. And then I would watch Raw the next night and see what I had heard the night before. Very, very lame. I don't know why I'm sharing this right now. But I remember that. But I don't remember when that ended and when I was actually able to order my first pay-per-view. I do remember that for a little while, there was a awesome lady down at the end of the street that babysat my brothers that had a pirate box. And she would watch the pay-per-views. And I would drop her a VHS tape, for those of us that remember VHS tapes, and I would pick up the pay-per-view on Monday on my way home from school. And I would pop the tape in, and I would try to, like, speed watch the whole pay-per-view on VHS before Raw came on that night. The things we did back then that kids today just wouldn't understand. So I don't have an answer for you. I don't remember what pay-per-view, what was the first pay-per-view I bought, but I do remember everything, all the crazy things that I did before I was able to order pay-per-view. So I gave you a funny story instead of an answer to your question. I hope that pleases you. Happy New Year, Spaz. I wish you nothing but the best and enjoy the Rumble. Thank you, Zohan. As I said, you've been watching forever. I really do appreciate it, and I don't think I've ever done a Q&A or a fan interaction type thing that Zohan hasn't participated in some way, shape, or form. Dude, I really do appreciate it. For the other usual suspects, come on back. I haven't heard from you guys in a while. For those of you out there watching maybe for the first time that want to become one of the usual suspects, just stick your ass down in the comment section below. All things being equal, which we know they won't be, the next Q&A will be sometime either just before or just after WrestleMania. So get your comments down in the box below. Share your questions with me. Share your thoughts on what you've thought of this Q&A. It's the first one of the year. Of course, it was going to be late. I've been Spaz, your YWC Reality Check. Subscribe up there, talk down there, start a conversation, keep all these conversations going. Don't be a stranger. I will talk to each and every last one of you later, but for right now, I am tagging out. Bye, guys.